Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
And after we had so much fun with Black History Month and Women's History Month, we decided we want to do another month.
And May has a bunch of months.
Well, there's going to be an entire episode on all the things you can do in May. For now, we are focusing on Asian and Pacific Islander saints.
Yes, because it is National Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
All right. So.
And the gospel is universal, and it's been spread far and wide. So today we are doing Saint Alphonsa of the Immaculate Conception, born Anna Muttathupadathu.
Mm-hmm. Which, as you might have been able to tell, she is from India.
And our apologies if Mike happened to have slaughtered that name.
Almost certainly did.
Or we slaughtered
did.
any of the other names in this
We're gonna get them wrong, if only because it's not our native language, and we're doing the best we can, and we apologize to anybody whose feelings we might hurt. If by some chance you happen to know the correct way of doing it, please feel free to email us. Maybe we can get a audio clip so we can put it on there later and correct ourselves, and you can help us correct ourselves.
Or a phonetic spelling.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, she was born August 19 in 1910, and she died July 28th in 1946.
Yeah, there's a lot of saints who don't live long lives.
No. She's the patron of against illnesses, diseases related to the feet, India, and the Kurpusha Mission League.
Okay. She is also the first female Indian saint and the first saint from the Syro-Malabar Rite, which is one of the, sui generis churches within the broader Catholic Church.
Yes. I believe it's a Thomasine based Eastern Rite.
Good old St. Thomas made it all the way to India, and there have been Christians there since apostolic times.
She was beatified on February 8th in 86, and she was canonized on October 12th in 2008.
As these things go, a relatively speedy process.
Mm-hmm. She was the youngest of 5 children and born a month premature.
Which in 1910 was close to being a death sentence.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that's amazing right there.
Which also explains why she was sickly for pretty much her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother died when she was a few months old.
Yikes.
She was very young. And she was raised by an aunt who, if you just think of the beginning of Cinderella, this seems to describe it. When she got a little bit older, she had many marriage proposals, but felt called to be a religious sister.
And going back the whole history of the church, that's always a difficult one to explain to the suitors. A lot of them don't take it well.
Yeah.
I don't want to marry you. I want to marry Jesus.
I like you a lot, but I already there's another guy already.
Yes.
Who is he? I'll go talk to him. We'll work this out.
You can talk to him right now.
Yes.
You can always talk to him.
And she had
come join me.
A second layer of issues because this was during the 1920s and 1930s in India. Mm-hmm. And so her aunt who was raising her,
the wicked stepmother aunt,
was attempting to arrange marriages for her.
It's an ancient and venerable tradition, and the individual is supposed to have very little say.
Well, and at the same time, it's also curiously reoccurring for saints who felt called to communal life, and that quite oftentimes there was somebody who had other interests in their life. I mean, St. Thomas is a good example. He wanted to go be a Benedictine or a Dominican, but they all wanted him to be a Benedictine.
But again, you're absolutely right. I will just never understand why his family, who wanted him to be a Benedictine,
would throw him in a room with a whore.
Yeah, thought of getting him a prostitute would make him a better Benedictine monk.
But we've had other ones where it was some young lady who wanted to go and be a nun, and everybody and everybody and her sisters trying to go and be like, no, you need to get yourself married.
Yes, and she, much like a number of those saints, had a similar situation where she ended up having her feet burned from falling into a pit of burning chaff, which many people think, and actually in her official bio for the Vatican, that she did it on purpose to get out of an arranged marriage. Well, it was something where if I'm slightly injured, they won't want to marry me.
Well, I forget which of the saints it was, but she was very beautiful, so she prayed to be less pretty so that men wouldn't pursue her as much.
So her efforts were successful, and she was able to join a variation of the Franciscans.
Well, again, there's nothing Franciscans love more than founding new branches of the Franciscan family.
Yes.
They love schism.
Well, it's not really schism if they're all friends, but
They're not always friends.
It's slightly interesting because her favorite saint, her like personal patron, was Saint Teresa of Lisieux.
Totally makes sense.
Yep. No.
I'm going to join these Franciscans and be named after Alphonsa Liguori because I really admire a Carmelite.
Well, that name was her name because that was the feast day of when she took her first vows.
Totally makes sense. Okay. Saint Alphonsus is a little known but great saint.
Anyway, once she started taking her vows, she worked as a teacher, which she worked about a year worth of a teacher as a whole because, again, she was sickly her whole life. So she also did teacher assistant work. She was a catechist, and apparently she had really good handwriting, like super nice. So they made her a secretary so that she could, write beautiful letters to all the response.
Nice.
That'd be kind of cool.
It would be nice if the people we responded to could actually read the response. Again, St. Paul writing all the letters.
Yes.
All the big letters.
In December 1936, she was, at that time, cured of all her long-term health conditions by a then blessed, but now a saint, who I'm going to have someone else read the name because he's also Indian.
Kuriakose Elias Chavara.
And he was the first male from India who was made a saint and also part of the same rite as her. And they were actually beatified together, but his canonization was a few years later.
Slacker.
Well, he was also, born earlier, so I think it's an issue of miracles and such.
Well, and we're going to get to that eventually. Very few people can compete with St. Alphonsa when it comes to miracles.
Yeah.
Yes. But although she had health for a couple of years, she then got sick in 1939.
Dang it.
And she also had a trauma in 1940. All the details I got was that there was a thief in her room, and somehow this caused her to have amnesia and other health problems. So I don't know exactly, if she caught the guy and he, attacked her.
Some sort of hit to the head.
But,
Some extremely traumatic event.
Yeah. And she also ended up getting, after this, typhoid fever.
Sweet mercy.
Liver problems.
What didn't happen to this woman?
I don't know. They didn't make a list of that.
It would appear she did not get the plague.
But she did have gastroenteritis.
So, although she did have a miraculous cure, she then ended up getting sick again a few years later, and that's why she died when she was only 35. Many people attended her funeral, to the point where it was a big thing. It wasn't just like all the other religious sisters. She was well liked even then, and miracles started happening almost immediately. Unofficially, there's been hundreds of miracles. I mean, they only investigate a few, and once they have two full ones, they don't bother,
They've got a lot of other people to investigate miracles about.
Well, and as we've established, the church's process is extremely rigorous. So you can have a totally legit miracle, but you've got to have extensive documentation for it to get approved.
Yes. Many of them were for the children of the school that she taught at when she was healthy enough to teach. Many of them also had to deal with straightening of clubbed feet. Sure. Because although she did not have that problem, she had foot issues from her attempt to get out of marriage.
And a clubbed foot can, especially in a society where there's fewer motor vehicles, a clubbed foot is a significant disadvantage.
Yes, and I believe at least one of her official miracles was that, because that's something that's really easy to be like,
totally identifiable.
Did you do a bunch of surgeries?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, there's only two ways. There's only two ways this happened: tons of surgeries or miracle. But I like this because back in the day, before we had extensive processes, this is how saints were made. Somebody dies, and then at their tomb, there's a ton of miracles. It's old school.
Yep.
And there's no school like the old school.
And she would know because she worked at a school when she could.
So, a powerful intercessor, Saint Alphonsa of the Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
So, how about everyone for today's comment below with your favorite saint from a rite of the church besides the Latin rite, because there are 23 other rites.
You know, the Latin Church makes up more than 90%, but that's not 100.
Yes,
Nope.
and although a saint in any rite is a saint in all of them, there are ones that belong to that rite, so therefore, they're more
Absolutely.
connected with it.
Absolutely.
Also, while you're down there leaving a comment, make sure you click that subscribe button, the bell next to it, and that like button, because once again, they're all together. You might as well just get them all out of the way.
Get a discount with the package deal.
Exactly.
And who won't like the fact that I constantly find harder and harder names for you guys to try and pronounce?
Go visit our fantastic friends over at Catholic Balm Co. It's catholicbalm.co. Check out some of the nice things that they have, and maybe pick up a few for yourself with our discount code PLOT2021.
And join us every Monday in May as we bring you a new saint from the vast continent of Asia or the vast expanses of the Pacific.
And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.